Opponents of Proposal 3 will say anything to defeat it.
They're lying and making outlandish claims to trick you into outlawing abortion.
Parental consent will remain under Proposal 3.
I think that's incorrect. If you look at Proposal 3 in its entirety, at every single step, it goes far beyond Roe versus Wade. The reason why parental consent notification is different under the Roe regime than here is because there is no right to abortion in the text of the U.S. Constitution. And so the U.S. Supreme Court was allowed to make up whatever parameters of that right it wished, because it was not controlled by any language. But here we have an entire constitutional amendment that was written in a specifically broad way, and words matter, especially when we put them in our Constitution. So what do the words of Proposal 3 say? Well, it starts right at the beginning. Every individual has a fundamental right. Now first, that phrase, fundamental right, does not appear anywhere in the Michigan Constitution or the U.S. Constitution or any of their amendments. It's unique to this. It's elevating the right to abortion above everything else. Even more importantly, it says every individual. And that phrase also does not appear anywhere in the U.S. Constitution or anywhere in the Michigan State Constitution or any of its amendments. When it says every individual, that trumps any contrary statute. And as Bill knows from law school, the Constitution, when it's in conflict with a statute, always controls. And so if the Constitution says every individual, no judge has the ability to read that any less broadly than what it says. And we know that the other side actually believes this, although they won't tell you that in the ads. How do we know that? Because Planned Parenthood and ACLU, two of the principal sponsors and proponents of Proposal 3, introduced legislation in the Michigan legislature in 2019 and again in 2021 to eliminate Michigan's parental consent and notification statute. And even as recently as spring of this year, representatives of the ACLU admitted that Proposal 3 would eliminate parental consent and notification. Now, some on the other side will say, well, there are other constitutional rights, and courts have limited those with age, and they point, for example, to voting rights provisions. But the 18-year age requirement for voting is specifically written into the U.S. Constitution in the 26th Amendment. There is no similar limitation here. There is no court that will have the ability to constrict the meaning of every individual. And I think they did that on purpose. They knew that that's what they wanted, and they used language that doesn't appear anywhere else in the Michigan Constitution to get what they wanted.
So I actually decided to look up what he was referring to. And in 2019 and 2001, the Democrats introduced a bill called the Reproductive Health Act. And it has very similar language to Prop 3. And in it, they purposely put in there that it would repeal the Parental Rights Restoration Act. And that would be the law that makes it so a minor has to get consent to have an abortion, and that it would be a misdemeanor if someone performs an abortion on a minor without parental consent or some kind of waiver from the court. They want that gone. The ACLU said in 2019 that they applauded this, and in 2021, Planned Parenthood Advocates of Michigan were gung-ho about this. They thought it got rid of outdated restrictions. They actually believe that getting rid of parental consent not only gives the child more privacy, which obviously it does, which I think would be the problem. They're children, but they argue it makes them more safe. I don't know about that. Safe from who? Certainly not from the predatory abortion industry that profits off of women killing their offspring. So when people tell you that the Reproductive Freedom for All Act, aka Prop 3, isn't going to do anything to parental consent, everyone who's pushing this amendment has already attempted to destroy your parental consent before. So they've tried it twice, so maybe the third time is the charm.